In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a Ninja Star box. Now keep in mind that it is really only the top of the box that's shaped like a Ninja Star. The box itself is shaped like a standard box. First thing we want to do is decide which side of the paper we want to be the outside of the box. Now the box itself only displays one side of the paper, so that makes it nice if we have a patterned piece of paper. We're going to use this to be the outside of the box, so we turn the paper over and we're going to fold diagonal, corner to corner, the two diagonals. Fold it this way, and we're going to fold this way. And now what we're going to do is we're going to fold a quarter lines all the way across, but what we don't want to do is put lines down the middle. You can if you want, but the goal is to have as few extra creases in this as possible. So instead of putting a crease in the center to mark the center line for reference, we're just going to use the intersection of these creases to show us where the center of the paper is, so we can fold the edge to that center point, keeping these edges on both sides nicely parallel to each other to give us a nice straight crease. Again, if you really want to, you can go ahead and fold down the center both ways as a reference line, but here's one way to do it so that you don't need to put in that extra crease. And you're going to fold the other side in to that same point, open it up, and then we're going to do the same thing this way, folding the edge to that center point, making sure that the edges line up. And we can now also use these crease lines here to help us keep the crease straight. Go ahead and open that up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put in another crease halfway between this crease and the center line, all the way around. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take the edge and fold it up to the crease that we just made. And that's going to put a nice crease in right where we need it. And of course we're going to do that all the way around, folding the bottom edge up to the crease that we created in the previous step. And remember, we're going up to the creases we made in the first step, so it would be this crease. This is the crease that we just made. We want to go up to the crease that we made in the first round of creases. And what we've just done is this now is the bottom of the box, and this right here are the walls of our box. And so for planning purposes, the box itself is 1/4 of the width of the paper. So if you know what you want to put in the box and you know the dimension, you multiply that by 4, and that will give you the dimensions of the paper you need to start with. And the wall height is 1/2 of this total distance. So the box itself is 1/4 of the paper. The wall then is 1/8 of the total paper. Alright, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take each corner and we're going to fold it in to the center point again. So we'll fold the corner into the center point, but we're not going to crease all the way across. We're going to crease only until this crease here, see that crease in the paper, and the same crease on the other side right here. So we're only creasing in between those two creases. So you can see we crease and the crease stops here, and the hard crease stops here. Rotate, and we'll do the same thing, taking the point to the center, and we're doing a hard crease only until we get to this crease and until we get to this crease right here. put in the hard crease from there to there. And we do that on the other corners as well, creasing only between those two crease markers. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the paper over, and what we're going to do is we're going to complete this shape that we've started to make. So we're going to connect this point to this point. And that's very easy because all we need to do is take this edge up to this edge, up to this crease that we made. And we only need to crease in between this crease and this crease. Like that. We go to this crease, go to this crease. We open up and you can see that we're completing this shape. Turn it, and we do the same thing on all the sides, taking this edge up to that crease, putting a hard crease in only between this crease here and this crease here. And so you can see how we have completed this shape. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this corner and we're going to bring it up to the intersection of these creases right here. You can see where all these creases meet right there. So we're going to take this corner to meet where all those creases meet, and we're going to crease here only up until this crease right here. That's a 1 unit crease. And the same thing on the other side. You can see this crease right here. So we're going to crease from that crease to the edge. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this corner and we're going to drop it down to this intersection of creases here. You can see those creases right there, that intersection. So this is the one we just did. Now we're dropping it down to this intersection of creases. And on this side, on the left side, we're going to do what I call a 2 unit crease, because instead of stopping at the first crease, we're going to go until we reach the second crease. And that's a 2 unit crease. Now on the other side, we're only going to do a 1 unit crease to this crease right here. We're just creasing it 1 unit. So we turn the paper, and again we bring this corner up to this intersection of creases, and we do a single unit crease on this side and a single unit crease on this side, and then we slide this corner down until it reaches the next intersection of creases, and this time we're going to do a 2 unit crease here, and we're going to do a 1 unit crease here. Turn it, and again, same thing, up to the first intersection creases, a 1 unit crease, a 1 unit crease, drop it down to the next intersection of creases, a 2 unit crease, right up to that crease, and a 1 unit crease here. First intersection of creases, 1 unit crease, 1 unit crease, 2 unit crease, and a 1 unit crease. Okay, now that we've done that all the way across, we're ready to start assembling the box. So turn this back over, remind the paper about the diagonals. And now this is going to be one of the trickier parts of this model, is collapsing it to the first. Now I had this light on so you could see the creases, but it makes it harder to see the rest. So I'll turn that light off. And you do see this first square, which is the bottom of the box. And so what we want to do is form the bottom of the box with these diagonal creases going across. Alright, now this, again, like I said, is a very tricky part. What we're going to do is you need to keep an eye on this crease here that marks the top of the wall of the box, because we're going to fold in on that, and that crease is going to have a tendency to pop in like that, and when it does that, it's going to mess you up. You're not going to be able to put it together. So if you're having a really difficult time doing this first collapse, check these creases, because most likely this is what's happened. And so you just reach underneath, behind, and pop that crease out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to form the part of the box that's right here. See how this part right here sticks out past the edge of the box? And as you rotate it, it does that all the way around. And so that is what we're going to be doing. So as we have the beginning of the collapse, folding along the wall, making sure that this comes out, and you can see right now what's happening is I'm starting to lose the right angle in the bottom of the box. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that that keeps your right angle. So again, this is a difficult maneuver as you're doing all these, keeping all these thoughts in mind as you're collapsing this. Now it'll help when you see the final. So I'm almost there, but it's not happening. So you can see I've lost the top of the wall crease that I was warning you about. So pop that out. And again, I'm just going to go through it. I'll show you a picture of the final. Alright, there we go. Now that has finally collapsed the way I want it. And take the time to set all the creases. I'm going to go over that collapse again to show you what it looks like. This is the final product, what you're looking at after that collapse. See how this comes out like that. So that is what we're looking for. Now I'll show that to you again, because I know that's very difficult, and there's really no way that I can show it to you in an exact step-by-step process, because it's all going to depend upon how well your paper folds initially. There's a lot of things to look out for. The best thing to do is really take a look at this final product and try and go for that. But again, I'll show you that collapse. Alright, so here we're back like this. I've got the four corners coming out. I've got the bottom of the box. Alright. Now, and again, keep in mind that we want this part to stick out. We want this part to stick out. And keep an eye on the top wall of the box. That's the crease that's really going to get in your way. So you can see how I've defined that crease. I'm rotating it, making sure that this crease looks good, pulling this down, making sure that crease looks good, pulling this down, and then this last one kind of twists into shape. Again, that's just something you're really going to have to massage the paper with in order to get it just right. It can be very frustrating. I understand that, and so just give it a little bit of time and watch that a couple times to see if you can see how your paper is reacting, see if you can convince it to go the way you want to. Once you've got this, you're gonna find there's a crease right along here. There's a crease right along there, and you have that on all of your all the wings of your star, all the points of your star. And what you want to do is you want to fold it back and give it a nice crease, because that's important, and that'll help. And you want both layers. Make sure you get both layers when you do that. You can do that all the way around, getting both layers, and just now that this is a crease that's already in the paper, but it needs to be reversed on the top layer. Make sure you get both layers when you do this. Alright, now we're doing the final collapse, and again, it's a little tricky because pretty much you have to do all of them at the same time, and since we can't do that, the first one we do is a little sloppy, the second one is a little tighter, and then the third one's pretty tight, and then we go back around and clean them all up. A couple things to watch out for when we do this. We're going to open this up, and you want to make sure that this stays flat. If this starts to open up like this, you're going to have a hard time making it do what you want to do. So first thing you want to do is make sure that this is flat. So when you open this up a little bit, this still stays flat. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this crease right here and the crease that comes straight up. So it makes a bit of an angle like that, 45-degree angle. No, that's not a 45-degree angle. This is a 45-degree angle off of this corner, and then this is a vertical crease. Alright, this is that crease that I had you pinch. And so what's going to happen is we make sure we keep this flat. We fold this in, again, on this crease here and that crease. And keeping this flat, this pinch crease that I had you do tucks underneath like this. It tucks underneath here. And now, again, this is kind of sloppy because we haven't formed this side. So just hold this, and when you turn this side from this corner coming down, we have a crease. We just have to remind the paper about it. Oh, there it is. And that forms that kind of corner. And so we're going to do the same thing on the next side. Now remember what I said. We want to make sure this is flat. This is not flat. And we want to make sure that these are together. So push these together and flatten this part out. Now it's not going to lay completely flat because we got this. But make sure that this part is flat so that when we use this crease, you can see how this is going to tuck a lot nicer once we've started the process. This tucks under. Now, again, we have to remind the paper that we have a crease running from this corner down. So it's starting to coalesce. Again, this has to be flat. Flatten that out. Nice, nice and flat. Again, we're using this 45 and then this to tuck in, keeping these layers together. And we need to remind the paper again that we have a crease in here. And if things start to go a little awry, don't force the paper. Take a look. You can see things are getting a little crumpled in there, which means they're not following the creases. So it just takes a little bit of massaging to get the paper back on those creases, and then once those creases are aligned, it falls into place a lot nicer. And so this, now that collapse there is very tricky to do the first time because it's hard to keep track of what's going on, and it's very difficult to show. But that's it, and then you just fold your points of your star in, kind of set them, and I'm going to go back and show you that final collapse again. I'll just show you how this works, the final part works, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to tuck each star point into the next one around, and then kind of gently ease the paper into its final shape. Go ahead and turn it upside down to help set the creases. And if you have tweezers or pliers, you can reach in between here and help set those creases if you want to be extra neat. Now I'm going to go back and show you that final collapse again because it's quite difficult to do. Now, one nice thing about this box, though, is that once you've done this, it really holds. So if you want to put something into it, it really holds the shape. So it's really easy to just kind of put it right back into that shape. So once you've got it, you don't have to be scared about opening it up to put something in it because it doesn't take much effort at all to just put it right back into shape. Now, whoever you give it to, if you're giving it to somebody, probably won't be able to do that, but that's their problem. Again, each of these flaps, we have this crease running right here. And we want to make sure that we pinch that crease. And we do that all the way around. The reason why we do that is because we want to make sure that we keep these layers together. So a couple things again that we watch out for is we make sure, alright, so the first time we do it, we're going to open this flap a little bit and we make sure this is flat. Okay, as it comes around, this is going to want to open up. We're going to lay this flat. We're going to make sure that this is a nice 90-degree corner. This part will come up a little bit, that's okay. This part needs to be flat. Now the creases that we're going to fold on are this 45-degree crease here and this vertical crease here. Now if you've got this crease nice and tight, it'll more than likely naturally fold on these creases. Alright, so now that we've got this flat, keeping these two pieces together, these two layers together, we're going to fold, and you see it's folding on this crease and it's folding on this crease, and that pinch layer is tucking underneath. Tucking underneath like this. Now again, this first one's going to be a little sloppy because it needs all the other pieces in place. So we're just going to kind of let this do whatever it wants at this point. And there's this crease right in here that sometimes the paper will forget that it has. And so we just want to make sure that it has that crease. See how it's going to form this 45-degree crease right in there. Now, as you can see, this is no longer laying flat. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that that is flat like that. And now that we've done that, again, we see this crease here, and there's a crease right up in here. We're going to fold this down on that diagonal crease, keeping the layers together. See how it's tucking underneath. See how these are separating? That's going to cause problems. So you want to make sure that you keep those layers together as much as possible. And if things really start to jam up, take a look. This crease right here it's not on the crease. Alright, now it's on the crease. I check to make sure that it's making that crease right there. See how it's making that 45-degree there. Again, this is now nowhere near flat, so I flatten that out. I take a look for this crease here and this crease here, and I'm just gonna fold. There's that pinch crease. I'm gonna fold it back and see how these are separating. I don't want that to happen. I gotta keep these together. Fold it underneath. And see, now this paper has forgotten that it has this crease in. See how it's bent over like that? So just gently push it to remind it that it has that crease. So you can see we have this nice 45-degree leading into the center. You see how this last one is separating. We want to keep those together. And there we go. Again, this is quite tricky. Give it a couple tries. Have a lot of patience while you're doing it. I like to lay it on the ground upside down. Push it. And again, then you just close one, tuck it in, tuck it in, tuck that in, and then this one can be tricky too. And then work the box. Closed. Now again, the box is 1/4 or 25% of the length of the original paper. So if you know what you want to put in it, you can measure it, times it by 4, and then you know how big of starting paper you can need to make the box. So I have this nice box, my nice star box, that I put stars in, amazingly enough. So to do that, I just took this, I measured from point to point and got just under 2.5, multiplied that by 4, got 10, and so this is a 10-inch piece of paper that I started with. And like I said before, once you folded the box, it tends to memorize what you've done quite well. And so it doesn't take much coaxing to get it back into its original position. Which is, you know, certainly a lot easier than the first time you make it. So there you have it. Have fun. Have a lot of patience when trying this for the first couple times, but once you get it, it's actually pretty easy to do.